Mhm.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Sherry Strong, and this is Unique Genius in 33. It is January 29th, 2020. I cannot believe it is the end of January. It seems like
Right.
when we measure our weeks by Wednesdays, they go by faster and faster. I am so excited, though, that this week we have with our guest, we're going to be talking about the Achiever theme, and Angie, I'll tell her, she's going to tell about herself and where she lives and all of that in here in a minute. But we're going to be talking about the Achiever theme today. And the Achiever theme, according to Gallup, people exceptionally talented in the Achiever theme work hard and possess a great deal of stamina. They take immense satisfaction in being busy and productive. So, Angie, you could tell us, I'm going to toss over to you. Does that sound like you? And first, tell everybody your name, where you live,
Yeah.
who you are, to give everybody
Yeah.
a little bit about yourself.
I love Achiever too because it has served me so well. My name is Angie Counce. I am in Jackson, Tennessee right now. So I lead a call center in Jackson, Tennessee. And my number two strength is Achiever. So it's pretty high in my top five, and it has served I think it served my other strengths really well as also.
Awesome. Now, what are your top five?
So my top five is relator is number one, achiever, I'm learner, significance, and arranger.
Okay, so I'm sorry, do that again.
Yep, it's relator,
Relate.
achiever, learner,
Okay.
significance, and arranger.
Okay,
And so
we have, oh my gosh, we have
relator and achiever.
three.
Yeah.
Yes. And you have significance and I have self-assurance, which can sometimes mimic. Oh
Oh,
my
that's
gosh, you're like my sister from another mother.
Yep.
Mine is strategic achiever, learner, relator, and then
Yeah.
self-assurance. So, oh my gosh. So okay, we have to remember we only have 33 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
Because it is fun to talk
Wonderful.
about. It
It
is.
is fun to talk about. So your
Mhm.
achiever then supports your relator.
Yes.
Okay.
I also think recently and I'm jumping in probably too soon, but
Yeah, you're fine.
I think my achiever really in the past few years has supported my significance because I have leveraged both to create programs in Jackson where we've given to nonprofits, and we've created several sustainable programs for different nonprofits in Jackson because I'm like, let's get it done. We're going to get in there. And
Oh, no, those are great stories. And for those of you watching, significance is about impact, right? It's about creating legacy. So yes, if you're exactly right. And that's called the dynamics, right? How they work together. But let me ask you this then, because it sounds like you love your achiever as much
I
as I
love it.
love mine. So what do you love most about it though?
I guess what I love most about it is it's so easy. I never have a point where I struggle to get to the end of something. It's the opposite, right? I have an issue being okay not getting to the end of something. So it took me a few years to give myself the permission to not finish a book if it's not good. Because as an achiever, I feel like as long as I get to the end, check, I've accomplished that. And so when I start a project or move something forward with a team or whatever, or just work on something individually at home by myself, it's very easy for me to get to the end point and
Right.
accomplish that task or project.
Yeah, I like that. It's so easy. Seeing other
Mhm.
people look at what you do and go, she's crazy. She never stops, right?
Yeah,
Stop and smell the roses. Has
yeah.
has anybody ever said that to you before?
Well, I probably have said it to myself because we've talked about this before where we have that vacation remorse or
Uh-huh.
relaxation remorse where
Oh, I
we're
use that all the time.
and it's real. Even when I know it and I'm developing my talents into strengths, I know that I have those moments where I'm like, I beat myself up for relaxing or having a lounge day. And so around 5 o'clock, I get that panic moment where I'm like, I've got to get something done. And so there's a haunting part to it as well. And so sometimes balancing that piece isn't as easy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, that makes total sense. I've often said for achievers, marking the box is the celebration. Now,
Yes.
other people don't understand that or feel that. So to your point, you had to give yourself permission or to not beat yourself up. I've
Yes.
had to go, man, you know what? I marked the box. That's okay for me. It doesn't have to be okay for everybody else. So I've also had to accept that I'm fine with just marking the box.
Yeah.
Like, I'm okay with that. Just because the world isn't, doesn't mean it's wrong, because it's right for me.
Yeah. And I found that, I'm the person who will bring work or books on vacation so that I have something to get done.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we tend to beat ourselves up over that too, right? Because you're on
Uh-huh.
vacation, you should never bring any work with you. You shouldn't. And I found that I'm just comfortable with it because
Yes.
I know I'm going to enjoy it. I know it's going to be a part of my vacation at some point. I fit it in at the right times.
Yes.
And, I'm cognizant of what else is going on around me, but that fills that piece. So I just lean into it.
Oh, awesome, awesome, awesome. So then let me ask you this: what drives you crazy about it?
The crazy Sunday night, I wasted my weekend mindset that, when you start kind of doing that reel of, oh, I should have got more done, or, just beating yourself up that you're not accomplishing enough.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because we talk about learner a little bit and us both having learner as number 3, and achiever has also supported learner because I've accumulated degrees. So there's a lot of different ways we can learn, right? I can
Yeah.
learn through just reading, which I do, and I can learn through podcasts and other things that don't become an end.
People think I'm nuts because I listen to TEDx talks when I'm walking or running. Like, that's
Absolutely.
motivating to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I do the same thing because it's information.
It's
But
information. Yeah, I'm
but
learning something
but the
and
achiever
achieving at the same time.
and achieving, right? But the achiever in me also had me complete different degrees because I didn't only see it as learning, then I also saw it as, well, I'll finish.
Right.
But the downside is, like you asked, the downside is I focus on the completion. It's very easy for me to trip into, all right, I can have this done in 1 year instead of 2. Let's do that. And then I lose the process of learning or the process of vacation or so the downside is that you can so easily shift into losing control of just getting the thing done.
Yeah, guilty, guilty. And I didn't realize it until really the last 5-6 years that
Yeah.
I thought that was a good thing. And, I had a supervisor one time put on my, a review, Sherry, get it done. Like, he actually put that on the review. So I took pride in that. Man, talk
Yeah.
about feeding it. Right. But yeah, right. So, but you sacrifice quality then sometimes because it's all about getting it done.
Yes.
And I get rewarded when I get things done. We'll
Yep.
fix it if it's wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And having to be aware of that so that you can build that into the process. So a part of getting it done is getting those quality steps done too, is so important. But then as soon as you get into the panic mode where you're like, I haven't gotten enough done, it's so easy to slip away from the being deliberate and having it really have that talent really honed and have it developed into a strength. It's so easy to slip back into bad habits with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's innate, right? You cannot help but think that way because that's, this is one of your top thinking processes. So, well, we believe that you were born with these, and either you refine them or you, as we talked, you can become raw with them. When you think back, now that you know this language a little bit more so than a lot of people, but when you think back, when's your earliest memory, now that you know who you are, your strength DNA, if you will, what's an earliest memory you have of using your achiever? Or when did you know, now that you look back and go, oh, that was totally my achiever?
I think it was, I guess, when I really started noticing it, because I think I noticed it more so when it was maybe raw negative, that Sunday night panic or beating myself up for not doing more, not better leveraging my time, or not better leveraging resources I had available to me. I think that's when I noticed it. And then when I went through and took the strengths the first time, I went, oh my, okay, now I get it. I start each day at 0. When you're starting each day at 0, by midday you can beat yourself up. And so when it was raw,
that's so true.
Yeah, and when I noticed it, it was impacting relationships because that panic of I'm not getting enough done spilled out into other people, right? It was, we're not getting enough done and we're not doing, and
Ooh.
we've all got to get into this game of craziness that Angie's going through. But
Yeah.
yeah, you really do.
I used to judge people as lazy because they weren't doing as much as me.
Yeah, it's easy to do. And so the cool thing about the language and strengths is I was able to go, I get it now, and it's
Right.
mine, it's internal to me, and it's not about someone else, and it's how do I effectively manage it where I want to. I like
Mm-hmm.
leveraging it. I love achieving a ton of stuff. I love going home tonight and I'll probably have 6 things I want to get done with
Yeah.
time for 3. And
Yeah.
I love that. And so
Yeah.
I find the right way to leverage it where it keeps my relationships healthy too.
Yeah. Boy, that's the what do I want to say, the benefit of being willing to grow and learn, right? We're never
Yes.
done learning.
Yes.
Well, you talked a little bit about how your talent, how it plays with your talent. So the significance is a great example. Give me an example maybe of how, how do you know how do you know you're achiever? Do you ever consciously go, okay, I'm using my relator and I need to use my achiever, or I'm going to use my learner and my achiever? Do you consciously ever do that, or do you now know like you're refined it pretty well that it just shows up?
I don't think I've ever consciously said I'm gonna deploy this strength at this moment. I think it's situational, and
Yep.
knowing that I have them, I've more consciously used the knowledge to give myself permission. So it feels, we talked about relator and how, we talk about how Lori loves to go in the room and she's like, people, 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 give me more, 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 woo.
Yeah.
And as a relator, we go in the room and we go, all right, who are the 3 people? I'm going here because I know this person's going to be here. And so I think I've given myself permission, much like achiever, but with relator and some other things. I don't have to be the social butterfly that moves around the entire room.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay for me to go in and have those 3 meaningful conversations. And maybe I meet one more new person and figure out where that fits. But that doesn't make me wrong. It doesn't make me less effective.
Yeah.
And so I think I wish I had a way, and I don't know, I would like to hear if you do it. I wish I had a way to draw on and use at the right times, but I feel like I more give myself a pass at the right time.
Interesting. Well, then my challenge to you is, right, so there's lots of ways to do that, right? So if the people have been studying strengths for years, they'll often just say, hey, this week I'm focusing on achiever. So how can I use my achiever intentionally today? Because it does come naturally to you, but how can I use it intentionally? And for you, I would offer, because you're so aware of your achiever, is how can I use my relator and achiever today together? How can I use my what is it? You said learner and achiever together. How can I use my significant and achiever together today?
Yeah.
And all that does is it really does refine, right? Sharpen your awareness around how you are. So I think for anybody, that's it, being able to be intentional about it and say, man, then at the end of the day, you say, did I use my learner and achiever together today?
Yeah.
And how did I do that? How do I rate myself on that? So I think it's just really coming up with methods in which to constantly push yourself to be more aware of how to use them together. And then you can do your other ones too, right? Like, how do I use my relator and learner today? And focus on that and not your achiever, because maybe your achiever is there. Maybe focus on 2 other ones. Yeah. So maybe yours, the challenge is not, because it's instinctively there, is to use all your other ones a little bit more and together. What would that look like? So no, I love it though. So now, is there any time where you feel like it fights another theme?
I was trying to think a little bit about that, because I don't think it does, other than maybe relator is the only thing I could come up with. I've seen where it's benefited me with significance. Arranger definitely around, seeing the parts, moving the parts in the right direction, and then knowing what the tasks are to get the parts placed. I feel like it's coupled it really well, but maybe relater. I do find myself in conversations and different things thinking like, how is this going? Where is this benefiting? Where's this going? Maybe I need to get to the end. I know that's terrible to say.
Oh, no, you're making me feel better. You're making me feel better.
Okay.
My biggest thing with relater and achiever, if I can share with you, is I so bad want to have a relationship with you that I want to get it done.
Yeah.
Like, we're best friends now, aren't we? We just spoke for 5 minutes and they're like, back off, Sherry, Lord, I just met you. And I'm like, let's go to lunch. You want to go do this? And I'm like, I just want to get to know you. And they're like,
yeah.
Right. So my relater and my achiever together, I think, can cause the exact opposite effect of what I want.
Yeah. Well, and I find myself too, if somebody were probably videoing me just getting into a newer forming relationship, is I'm interviewing. So I want to know, they talk about in the relater wanting to know goals and aspirations and different things, but I find myself literally, before even knowing this language, literally asking that. Like, well, what do you want to be? Employees come and talk to me and I get into this deep conversation and they're just like, they just want to check on the grandbaby. They don't want to know all this.
Like, I just came in here because I had a 2-minute break. I don't need to go down this whole thing. I just wanted to say hi, but okay.
Yes. So I find myself going through the steps of getting to know somebody and doing it more directly towards them versus maybe the natural organic exchange that typically happens. Mm-hmm. So I could see
you're making me feel so much better. I thought it was just me. No, I totally get it, right? Because you can get the opposite result of what you're really wanting because these two talent themes are, either they're butting heads or they've come together in the wrong way. And they're like, yeah, let's row this boat. And you're like, no.
You're rowing too fast and it's in a circle.
Right. Yeah, but I don't even want in your boat yet, lady. I don't even know you.
Yeah. Well, I also think, achiever with learner, at times, and I said this a little bit, you skip towards the end. I start a 2-year degree and it becomes a 1-year. And I really think, I've got the time, I can really lean into this, and my learner wants to really draw out, and I'll look at other case studies and I really, really understand the content. And my achiever goes, oh, but you only have 6 classes left and then you're this. Why don't you get through the 6 classes? And I also do that when, if I'm reading materials or something, I can pick up on it quickly. So I might shortcut and skim some stuff and really figure out, okay, so what's the end in mind for this article versus spending the time on it. So.
Oh, that makes so much sense. It makes so much sense. So let me ask you this. We always ask this question. If we could give famous people or fictional characters the assessment, make some assumptions while we teach not to assume anything, because what we think looks like a talent is totally usually different than what it is. But if you could, who's a famous person, a celebrity, or even a fictional character that you're like, man, they probably have achiever. And why?
Well, so I saw the worst quote recently. It's like this, somebody put this phrase up or something, and it was, Beyonce has the same hours in a day as you. And my achiever went, I know, I've got to do more. So it's funny, but I think about people.
Okay, she has 42 assistants and a trainer. I know my husband tells me this all the time. Like, if you had their resources.
No, it's true. But, I think of people like that who just keep adding. There's people who are good in their field at one stream. And then there are people that just keep adding another assistant and adding and having the knowledge and the wherewithal and the planning and the drive to go to that next thing. And it's almost like you can hear it in them, right? You can hear them going, what's the next thing? And so they don't sit around and go, what a great concert. I really did a great job at that, but they're on to the next, they're on to the perfume and the clothing and so I think it's anybody that kind of has that push to keep building on to something and not spending.
Because they could make enough money. They could they don't have to work.
No, it's that drive. It's I want to be on building the next thing, which is really cool. And she really does get a lot done in 24 hours.
I know, right? I know. I always think I'm the same way with Jennifer J-Lo. Like,
Yeah.
really? She's my age. And I'm going,
Yeah. I want to take a nap. No.
yeah, I was like, really? Okay. You're doing this and a movie star and you're on TV and you're singing and you're doing concerts and you have kids
Yeah.
and you're, and. So,
And look fabulous doing it. She looks
and look,
fabulous.
yeah,
Mhm.
gracious and everything. Yep. I get
Mhm.
you're right though. Anybody who has that drive, I could totally
Yeah.
see that. So what do you wish other people knew about Achiever? Because I think a lot of times people with Achiever, we assume everybody gets it,
Yeah.
but they don't. So what do you wish other people knew?
We don't want your task.
Ah,
Achiever does not mean give me a list of your tasks. You know,
I love that.
yeah,
Yeah, because if you're a person to get it done, people are going to come ask you to get more done.
yeah, but that not isn't necessarily satisfying. You know, a lot of the get it done is for me, it's like owning it from start to finish or managing the team through it, or
Right.
it's bigger than just, and maybe that's part of the significance or something else coming in, but just because we have that strength doesn't mean I want you to layer tasks onto me because Angie will get it done. And it's
Right.
true, I will get it done, but it'll be very dissatisfying.
Oh, no, I love that. That's a great tip. Well, let me ask you this then. What do you wish, why do you think strengths is so important? Why should people take the time to invest in even just discovering their own strengths, if
Uh,
not their teams or their families?
yeah. Well, so I always think any sort of awareness, but I said it at the beginning. It was so funny how you say stuff so clearly when you're not even trying. I said that it's so natural. Achiever just happens, and I just love it. And it's so easy for me to move through things and get things done and pull project teams together. And so when you're focused on your strengths and you understand them and you understand how you can leverage them, it feels like that all the time.
Mm,
And so it's so cool when we create programs in Jackson that are sustainable. I was talking about this a little bit with you, where, we'll have these programs, these community nonprofits will have these programs for years to come, well beyond me or Pierre, the company or anything else going on. But the it's so natural. It's like
right.
it feels so good that the rest of the stuff doesn't, all the other stuff doesn't matter. So I just think when a team understands and really understands, not just the surface, sometimes we get into surface
Right.
level, which I started there, pretty surface level understanding of it. And you kind of misuse it a little bit sometimes. That's where people say, you know, is
Yeah, using it
significance
as a
equals,
label or
yeah,
coach.
you
Yeah.
want to be important, you want somebody to high five you. And it's sometimes that's a misunderstanding, or achiever wants all the tasks, and then it's a little bit misused. But if you could really understand it, and like you said, do some of the development activities to figure out how to even develop your strengths, I just think you could almost operate in that all the time. That feeling
Right.
of this is so natural, it feels so good, I just love it. And I see it on my team. My team about a year ago, a little bit less, they went through the strengths. We had all the executives here in Jackson and went through the program, and you saw the difference when they understood that piece about them, and then when they understood that piece about each other. So you're like, oh, I get it now. I know why you drive you crazy when I'm
Mm-hmm.
going through all the history of everything that happened, and you just want to know what we're doing next, or whatever it is. So I think that is that feeling that I get when I'm leaning fully into my strengths, and that feeling of, like I said at the beginning, it's so natural and just feels so good.
Mm-hmm.
If anyone has the opportunity to just live like that, even 30%, that's a huge
Yeah.
difference. What a huge difference.
That is so good, right? Just living in that world of owning who I am, and it's okay. I don't
It's
have to be
awesome.
anything and all these other things. So
Yeah.
can I ask you one more question since we have a
Yes.
minute or two? You mentioned your team took it. How has it helped your team since they took the assessment?
I think for most of the help has been in their self-awareness, because I have to keep in mind that this was their first time seeing that. And I remember when I
Mhm.
first went through it, it was very personal first, right? I
Right.
kind of went through all the little development tools and tried to really understand it. And then you kind of started to make the connections of the crazy Sunday nights or whatever the connections
Right.
were. And you're like, oh, that's why I'm driving my family crazy. But I think they're kind of in that stage a little bit. We've used it some
Mm-hmm.
at work, but I think really the next phase would be to come back together as a team and work through some of that. You know, how do you work through a project, or where do you best leverage your strengths, and really teach people how to align strengths to daily living, align strengths to daily activities at work. And in the
Well, if
right,
you ever need some more on that, Angie, you just let us know.
yeah, I do. And I've got this renewed energy too, where I'm excited about building that. So
No, but hey, and it's lifelong learning, right?
yes.
And it's kind of, we were talking before we got on here. It's you wanting to know what you don't know.
Yeah.
You know, that's when we grow. And
Yes.
and there's always more to know. And as long as you keep that mindset open, I'm constantly having ahas around my strengths, and I'm going, oh my gosh, and what I think it is and what it is in different situations. You know, it comes into your awareness at different times, bloop.
Yeah.
And man, and I love that, right? Of course, and if you could provide that for your whole team, it just, we make culture and teams difficult. People do. And if we
Yes.
just let everybody just kind of, you know, we can hold each other accountable and all of those things and processes. But if we allow people to show up and be who they are meant to be, it's amazing what can happen.
Well, it's funny too, you know, you start to learn your team and your significant others or your families, you start to learn their strengths. You have this perspective then. So like now that I better understand Maximizer, and if I know someone has that strength, I go, okay, I kind of have an idea of what they might be thinking or what might be might be struggling with, so I can ask them the next question.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe talk through it with them, and then they'll go, oh yeah, that's, you know. And so helping them discover it on their own too.
Yeah, once you have the language. Yeah.
By having that information.
Awesome. Well, I see how fast this goes.
It does.
Oh, and now next Wednesday I'll be here, as we said, before we know it. Well, I'm just glad because we haven't got to interview you yet. So, and thank you for helping us kick the year off here in the first month of the year. And
Absolutely.
we hope that you'll be back, Miss Angie. And if anybody has any questions about Achiever Theme, of course, you know, you can reach out to admin@strongcommunities.coach. And we are just happy to provide this service. And we are thankful for your time, taking your time out and sharing with everybody.
Absolutely. I love it. It's fun.
Awesome. Thank you, Angie. Bye,
See ya.
everybody.